I mean, the facts are that yeah. The facts are is that global warming is about two things. There's one thing, there's environmental damage caused by the cotton industry, which is global. And there's the and the nonsense about the fossil fuel industry, which is now you wouldn't have thought. I mean, what's clever about the global warming hoax is that all it's done really is cotton farming in the world is an essential part of the world economic system, trade system. Cotton, I mean, we all know about cotton in the Civil War in the United States, but and people may have heard of cotton growing in India in the 1930s and 40s, which were part of the power of the British Empire. And now since the 1950s, the United States government, USAID, has basically encouraged lots of countries in semi-arid parts of the world to plant cotton, which has had quite bad environmental effects on some of the poorest countries in the world, like I mean Africa, North Africa, countries like Niger, Chad, Nigeria, all the countries on the Niger River Basin, which were because the Niger River Basin is quite it's because the Niger River is fed by all the hills that are fed by the equatorial rains in West Africa. And the rains flow north and feed the Niger River, and the Niger River loops around and it ends up back in Nigeria. But that whole dry, flat, semi-arid land is considered good for cotton farming. And there's a lot of cotton farming there. And same with Central Asia. I mean, during the time of the Soviet Union, the Russians put in enormous amounts of dams and pipes and things, enormous amount of cotton infrastructure in Central Asia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and yeah, like the Aral Sea, the famous inland freshwater sea, which is now shrunk to about a tenth of its size over the decades, and same with by the way, Lake Chad in the Niger Basin has shrunk right away, and there is this just fantastic amounts of environmental damage and interruption to the hydrological cycle done by cotton farming. Now, that's also in Australia. And since there's been recent years so much cotton farming put into the Murray-Darling River Basin in Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland, there's been a great deal of environmental damage, and what with cotton farms buying up water rights and only releasing a trickle of water into the rivers, and say they've been getting algal blooms and fish kills, and the Menindee lakes are drying up, and it's a great big scandal. But the funny thing about global, I mean, there was a recent election in New South Wales, and the Labor Party went down yelling about fish kills as though they were proof of global warming. Now, that's now. You never hear people like Al Gore ever talk about the Aral Sea or Lake Chad or the Menindee Lakes in Australia. All these, because it turns out that I mean the world's the headquarters of the world's largest cotton trader is in Memphis, Tennessee, and the world's largest cotton trader is Dunavant Cotton. And now William B. Dunavant, the Dunavant family, I mean, William B. Dunavant was the I think he's a current or former senator for Tennessee, and the other seat, the other senatorship, there's two for every state, is Albert Gore Jr. Now, I mean, the global warming is such poppycock. Now, Albert Gore goes around basically blaming the coal industry and the fossil fuel industry for climate change. And the evidence they use for climate change in some sort of popular media sphere, the evidence that it's adduced is the damage caused to the world's climate by cotton farming. And there's this just eye-poppingly I mean, the degree to which you can actually have a problem and pass it off on, blame it on someone else, and invent a whole government, a whole world government bureaucracy to pursue the innocent bystander, and to effect measures to treat the problems by rigidly ignoring the actual causes, blaming someone else, and then sort of trying to institute all these measures to just continue with the bluff. I wouldn't have thought it was possible, but I mean, when you think about the world cotton industry and how cotton is grown in Australia, Central Asia, Africa, South America, and it ends up in China. It ends up in China being made into affordable clothing, t-shirts and things, and running shoes. I mean, the amount of money in the cotton industry is quite amazing. And you also have to note that the cotton industry runs directly in competition with the oil industry, because the oil industry makes synthetic material like nylon. And big cotton just hates big oil for that reason, as a direct competitor in the textile markets. And so, yeah, it's convenient for the cotton industry to blame big oil for all the world's problems. And You see, it's actually quite a fragile political thing, as fragile as British India, because the collapse of British India was directly caused by people becoming aware of what the cotton industry was doing to India and how economically no Indian was getting any benefit from it. And this is something that Mohandas Gandhi exposed. How cotton was basically getting grown in India and destroying the environment and getting picked by low-wage people and loaded on ships by low-wage dockers, and it was getting shipped to England and getting made into just clothing and bedding and all these high valuated textiles, and being brought back to India and being sold at a high price. So it's quite fragile. I mean, the people in the cotton industry know that. Well, last time the hoi polloi found out about the scam, the British lost control of India, and all the international money people, all their valuable investments went down the toilet. So they have a vested interest in keeping people completely in the dark about what's going on, completely confused, barking up the wrong tree, chasing their tails, fighting and arguing over nothing, and it suits them. I mean, it's this absurdity of carbon accounting, and everyone in the country carefully calculating their carbon footprint and just whipping themselves bloody for like polluting the environment with a deadly toxin. It's just so, it's vastly comical, and it's to see that the breadth of the scam they've got away with, but now they're even teaching the nonsense at schools. And so, I mean, there was that CIA director who said that, when the CIA was actually infiltrating the newspapers, but it's got to the point where they've infiltrated everything. I mean, everything everyone thinks is just rubbish. It's nonsense, confused nonsense about everything.